Isolation and loneliness. George and Lenny. They're different from the other ranch hands. We got somebody to talk to that gives a damn about us, because they have each other. George enjoys the dream of the two friends owning land together as much as Lenny, and if a friend came along, we'd say, "Why don't you spend the night?" George tells Slim, "I seen the guys that go around the ranches alone. That ain't no good," revealing that he benefits by avoiding the loneliness. He says that he and Lenny got kind of used to each other, and it's nicer to go around with a guy you know. George tells Slim how he once used Lenny for fun, but he learned his lesson after an incident in the river, and I ain't done nothing like that no more. He protects and defends Lenny, for example not allowing Slim to call him cuckoo, proudly telling the boss that he can put up more grain alone than most pairs can, and not allowing Curly to beat him up. Lenny, despite being slow and easily confused, is sure of this friendship, answering Crooks's threat that George might abandon him. George wouldn't do nothing like that. Lenny is also protective of George. Ain't nobody going to talk no hurt to George. When he kills Lenny, George makes sure that he dies happy. Lenny's last words being, "Let's get that place now," as George pulls the trigger behind his head. Curly's wife, in the themes of isolation and loneliness. In the first meeting, Steinbeck stresses how incongruous her clothes and appearance are, with her full rouged lips, heavily made up eyes, red fingernails, and red mules on the insteps of which were little bouquets of red ostrich feathers. She is immediately isolated, partly by being the only female here, and also by being the sort of woman who would not easily fit on a hard-working ranch. Steinbeck makes her seem more friendless and remote by never giving her a name. This is the first of several visits to the bunkhouse. She's always claiming that she's looking for Curly, but clearly she's just looking for company. The men know that, as Curly's wife, she's too dangerous to befriend, and so they are never chatty and just want her to leave. George has to teach this to Lenny, telling him to leave her be. On the Saturday night, she wanders into the barn where there's a gathering of those excluded from going into town. Though she knows Curly has gone to the cat house, the brothel, she asks if he is here. Clearly she is lonely. She announces her isolation to these men. "Think I don't like to talk to someone every once in a while? Think I like to stick in that house all the time?" She lashes out viciously because they do not want her to talk to them, calling them a bunch of bindle stiffs and claiming that she's only here because there ain't nobody else. When she's in the barn with Lenny, she pleads, "I never get to talk to nobody. I get awful lonely." She is perhaps more friendless than anyone else. As she realises she can talk to Lenny, she confides that she only married Curly to get away from home. The dream world that she lives in, the belief that she could have been a film star, only isolates her further. Her real world is lonely and miserable, whilst her dream is unattainable. So, Candy, in the same theme. His dog is his company, and it's his equivalent of a friend. I had him since he was a pup. The other men, all loners and migrant workers, cannot understand the idea of friendship and simply want the dog shot because it's no longer useful and it's a nuisance in the bunkhouse. They do not recognise nor do they sympathise with Candy's affection for the dog as he pleads with them to let the subject drop. "I'm so used to him, and he was the best damned sheepdog I ever seen." He offers his money to George and Lenny to buy the property because I ain't got no relatives nor nothing. He knows that his future is more loneliness and then death. "They'll calm me pretty soon. I won't have no place to go to." When Crooks sneers at the idea of owning their own place, Candy's answer shows the comfort he gains from his new friends and the end to loneliness. We're going to do it, me and Lenny and George. The importance of friendship and the self-esteem it now gives to him is also shown in the way that he answers back to Curly's wife when she insults him and Crooks and Lenny. We got friends, that's what we got. Seeing the collapse of his dream, he takes out his anger on Curly's wife's corpse. You wasn't no good. I could have hoed the garden and washed dishes for them guys. But now he knows there's only his lonely old-aged existence on the ranch. And then Crooks. He's segregated in the barn, demonstrating racial discrimination of the 1930s. Candy tells a story from Christmas when they let the nigger come in that night. He's excluded from the companionship that exists in the bunkhouse. No cards or chat. When he comes to speak to Slim about a mule's foot, he doesn't enter the stable book put in his head. At the beginning of chapter 4, we see where and how he lives, his possessions including books, as he reads instead of having company. Crooks was a proud, aloof man, it says in the book, because he has no choice but to endure his prejudice and isolation. Consequently, he bitterly guards his enforced privacy, saying to Lenny, "This here's my room. I ain't wanted in the bunkhouse and you ain't wanted in my room." He's regretting the way that he taunted Lenny. A guy needs somebody to be near him, and a guy gets too lonely, and a guy gets alone out here at night. And then, of course, there's the ranch and the other itinerant workers. The ranch is isolated, as suggested by Lenny and George's long walk to reach there, and by the town's name, Soledad. That's the Spanish for loneliness. This remoteness is further emphasised by the fact that the Steinbeck's location never changes. The reader hears of, but never sees, the men going into town, and of Curly's going to a doctor when his hand's smashed. The boss is suspicious of George because he's unaccustomed to the idea of friendship among the men. I never seen one guy take so much trouble for another guy. The workers are all nomadic and solitary, like the man used George's bed before him. He just quit, the way a guy will, just wanted to move. When telling the details of the dream to Lenny, George describes ranch workers as the loneliest guys in the world, with no family and nothing to look ahead to. Slim talks to George of the rarity of guys travelling together and being friends. I don't know why. Maybe everybody in the whole damn world is scared of each other. The men on the ranch are all passing through, except Candy and Crooks, who are forced to stay because of their disabilities. No one seems to have a family, and they all go to town to pay for the temporary company of women.